Believe it or not, not all anime conventions are created equal, and I don't just mean that some have Todd Haberkorn, while others have some guy from down the street that was lucky enough to play Dying Guy #1 in Fullmetal Alchemist. I'm talking about the overall size of the convention. If you're new to conventions or just haven't been able to explore very many yet, you may be surprised to hear that the size of a convention really does change the con overall in major ways. I guess when it comes to cons, size really does matter. But Cody, what do you mean by size? Like the hotel's bigger? Or are there just more people that go? I don't understand. Well, me using a questioning tone, there's actually a lot that goes into deciding the con's overall size. Of course, if a con is bigger, it needs a bigger hotel and convention center to hold all the people, as the people really is what decides if a con is big or not. Here, let me break it down for you. Due to having to review cons, I've come up with a system that helps me decide the size of a convention. Obviously, this is my system, and some of you may not agree with it. If that's the case, feel free to make up your own system, write and record a YouTube video about it, and tell everyone why I'm wrong. So here's how it works. For me, it all depends on the amount of attendees. 1 to 5,000 people is small. 5,000 to around 12,000 is medium, and anything upwards of 12,000 is large. Now, I do also break it down to above 50,000 as massive and above 100,000 as monstrous, but for the sake of this video, we will call everything above 12,000 large, as once you get that big, it all does start to feel more or less the same, just with more people everywhere. You may be asking, so there's more people, how does that really change the convention? Well, think about it like this. If there's more people, first, you need a bigger location. You also need more industry guests and more events to be able to keep all those people busy. It may be sounding like big cons are just better by default, but let's slow down and really break down the pros and cons of small conventions and big conventions. Let's start with big cons. Pros, you have more cosplayers walking around. The cons sometimes last longer, like 4 days instead of 3. There will be much bigger dealer's room, meaning more to look at and buy. Bigger game room, more events, more voice actors and other guests. Overall, just more of everything. But this isn't always good. As far as cons, at a bigger convention, you will often find the con to be very crowded, sometimes shoulder to shoulder, making it hard to get anywhere fast. There will be much longer lines, meaning you may need to line up hours ahead of time. You won't get to do everything at a big con. You can split things up and try to hit it all, but you will often run yourself thin doing this. There may be more voice actors, but there are also more people trying to get their attention, so you will have much less one-on-one time with them. Big cons cost more, sometimes significantly more. The last thing is that big cons just aren't as intimate. Everyone's in a rush, and they often don't have time to stop and talk. The pros for small cons? First, they're often much cheaper. Also, less people. You can get almost anywhere you want to go pretty quickly. This also means small lines. There should be almost no reason for you to miss a panel you want to see, even if you show up late. You get much more one-on-one interaction with voice actors. You will almost always get your question answered, and you will probably find yourself bumping into them a lot over the weekend. My personal favorite thing about small cons, though, is how chill everyone is. No one's in a rush to get anywhere, and I without a doubt made many more friends at small cons than big cons. People have the time to just talk for a while, and you'll run into them over and over again during the weekend. The downsides of a small con: a smaller, sometimes less interesting location. A lot of times this will end up just being on the lower floor of a hotel with no convention center. There are less voice actors and industry guests to pick from. There are also less events overall. Smaller dealer's room, smaller game room, just overall less to do. So which one's better? The big con with endless things to do, or the smaller, more personal con where you may make tons of new friends? Really? It's all up to you. But in my personal opinion, neither one of these is the best type of con. For me personally, it's all about medium-sized cons. They really are the best of both worlds. A nice location, a nice sized dealer's room that isn't too big, you have a ton to do and a lot of voice actors to meet, but you won't be running around non-stop. There's also a nice amount of downtime to meet new people. For me, nothing beats a medium-sized con, and if you've never been to one, try it out. Now I want to hear where you stand. What size convention do you prefer? Medium is where I hang, but that's just me. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. See you in the next video.